Welcome into the PHNX Coyotes podcast, brought to you by the one and only DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a 5-star review. I'm Leah Maryland. For the first time in like over a week, I think, I'm here with Craig Morgan and Steve Peters. And
Craig's busy.
Craig is
it time for the show? I'm sorry. let me put Henry David Thoreau down and join you guys on the.
He's so bougie.
How about this backdrop in my buddy's house?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So we need to do a geography check. Where in the world is everybody right now? Craig, we'll start with you in that library that you're in.
I am in Scarborough, Maine, which is just outside of Portland. My buddy has a place up here. He'll be eventually retiring up here. He's a headmaster at a prep school in Southborough, Mass.
Headmaster.
Yeah, he's pretty impressive. He's pretty impressive. I told him no photobombing though. He's kind of disappointed in that.
Yeah, well, I probably will get some guests during my show. For sure, my dog is going to photobomb us. I'm not worried. I'm in Des Moines, Iowa, driving because I saw all the trouble you guys had in your plane thing. So I drove from Arizona and I'm driving to Minnesota. By the way, if you look at a map, that's a long way away. Man, that's a long way.
I mean, I've looked at the map because we were in Minnesota last week, so I
know
exactly where we were.
Exactly. Driving through Minneapolis tomorrow morning. So I'm at my mother-in-law's. You can see she's a redneck woman behind me. My mother-in-law in Iowa. So that's what I got going today.
Oh my God.
So anyway, I expect the dog to join us any time. And I will say this, Leah, after all of you, we'll have to hear about your troubles, but I think it's probably a little warmer in Arizona than it is in Des Moines, Iowa.
Yeah, I did make it back to Arizona. I am back. Finally, somehow made it back. Walked out of the airport. It was nighttime, so hot. And I was like, I really was ready to get out of Canada just because of all the issues. But the weather, wow, it was phenomenal.
What happened yesterday?
So yesterday I get to the airport, and this is the thing about me is I track my flights and my planes. So this happened when Craig and Jacob and I were in Minneapolis. Our flight was not delayed, but I could see that our incoming plane hadn't left yet, and they just hadn't told us yet. So this happened again to me, where yesterday I get to Montreal airport. I'm waiting for my first flight, which was taking me to Washington Dulles, lovely airport, by the way. And
Shame.
I can see that my incoming plane to Dulles was delayed 2.5 hours. So my plane was supposed to leave at 6:30, and it said estimated arrival to Dulles was 8:30. And but they hadn't said anything yet. So I was sitting there thinking, oh my God, I already had a long 3-hour layover ahead of me, not including the delay. So I'm calling my mom. I'm having her look up flights, seeing if there's anything that can get me sooner. Luckily, somehow, while I was in the air, they changed it. So they had a different plane coming for us. And it was still delayed, but it was less delayed than I originally thought it would be. And I ended up getting back to Phoenix at the original time I was supposed to get
Wow.
back.
But you had more adventures on the ground, Leah. You haven't shared the entire story yet about, basically wandering the side of the road with your luggage.
Oh,
looking
yeah.
for a place to stay.
Yeah, so Saturday night, my friend came up from Boston, and she had to leave. She had a personal emergency to go home to. So she left, and I was left. And this is not against her because I said, I'll get out here. But I was literally on the side of the road in Montreal with my suitcase and my backpack with nowhere to go because the place I was supposed to go, I wasn't hearing back from. I couldn't use Uber because I had to send Jacob to the airport, and he was using my Uber app. So I had 20% battery. I have my suitcase and my backpack, and I was just
on the streets of Montreal.
Yeah, so it's just everyone associated with me, Craig, or Jacob on this trip was cursed. My friend then got detained at the border for 2.5 hours. So, Jacob's flight was delayed back to Phoenix. Although I don't know if he told you this, Craig, he was on the plane with all of the Coyotes staff, including Shane Doan.
Yeah, that's cool.
So,
he did tell me that. That's brutal. Petey, someone just asked what's in your cabinets. I assume it's lots of guns.
Well, it's my mother-in-law's house. So if you can imagine what would be in your mother-in-law's cabinet in an office in a house that's
in Des Moines,
not new.
Well, I mean, it does say redneck woman.
Everything she's ever had everything she's ever had in the last 30 years. I'm sure every scrap of paper that she's ever. I'm not going to open them. That's not
Buddy, how long was this drive?
All the way to Minnesota to be about 32, but we have the dog with us too, so that makes it
still. It's about the same time it took me and Craig to get to Montreal.
Honestly, and it's not that bad. We put on the Yacht Rock, put a little Yacht Rock 311 on Sirius XM, and stop every couple hours for gas. Dog go to the bathroom and eat. A couple of hotels in Albuquerque and in Kansas somewhere. Forgot where in Kansas. Emporia, Kansas. Mother-in-law's for a couple of days, and then off to my off to northern Minnesota. So there you go. It's good. Honestly, it's fine. I driving is fine. Driving is totally fine. We don't drive at night anymore because we're old. But we could be at the development camp. So if I was there, I'd be going to dev camp. Leah, are you physically going?
I am physically going tomorrow. So more to come. We'll get to that in a second. Luckily for the first round Arizona Coyotes picks, they got to fly private to Phoenix on Alex Morello's private jet. So they made it here in ample time. I'm sure
you
they
couldn't get on that, Leah, somehow?
No, I didn't make the short list for that.
No invitation. Nope. We were on that list. I wasn't coming home anyways. You guys knows I'm in Maine right now. One more traveling thing before we get on to development camp, by the way. I wanted to drive from Montreal to Maine because it's a beautiful drive through upstate Vermont and New Hampshire. But you can't get a rental car across the border these days. So I held to my plan. So I took a Greyhound bus from Montreal. Leah knows. I left the house. I left the Airbnb at like 6 a.m. to get a bus. We went to Plattsburgh, New York, but we stopped, of course, at the border for customs. And it was going smoothly, relatively smoothly. It's not a fast process anyway, because you've got an entire bus worth of people that have to show proof of vaccination, show their passport, answer some questions. There was that one guy that held up the process. We had all made our way back to the bus, and we're waiting and waiting. The driver had even started up the engine because he figured we were minutes away. And he got off, and he gets back on, and he's cussing under his breath. And eventually, the border agent gets on and says, "You can go now." And the guy that was supposed to be the last passenger never showed up. So we don't know what happened to him, but I did eventually make it to Plattsburgh. And then I took my drive, and it was absolute heaven. I stopped in Burlington, Vermont for lunch, which is all of Vermont. Northern Vermont is just gorgeous. Came through New Hampshire, saw all of my old stomping grounds where I went to school, and made my way up to Portland, Maine, where I am right now.
Is it your family there or just you?
Just me. My wife is still in Ireland, by the way, teaching and complaining about being in Ireland because
we're not going to feel sorry for her.
No, 3-week program in Ireland. Although she had some challenges of her own. The faculty advisor that was there with her running the program tested positive for COVID, so he went into quarantine. So she's running the whole thing herself. She's in Belfast right now, watching basically like protests in the streets. It's an interesting time, but she'll be home the same day I will at the end of this week.
What a summer.
Yeah,
what a summer for us all. And by the way, producer Sean is on vacation this week. He's back in Buffalo, New York. And then he's going to New York City later in the week because his birthday is on Friday. So everybody wish Sean a happy birthday on a Friday. But yeah, the PHNX Coyotes crew is dispersed all across the United States right now, truly. But everyone else is here for development camp, which is what we're going to talk about today. And who, what, where, when, why, how. That's what we'll get into. So development camp kicks off this week, today, actually, right now in about 20 minutes at 11:30 today, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. If you want to go, if you're local, it's at the Ice in Scottsdale. And today, tomorrow, and Friday are open to the public. And it caps off with a black and white scrimmage at 6 p.m. on Friday at the Ice in Scottsdale. So head out. A great chance to see some Coyotes prospects, including a lot of names that Coyotes fans are familiar with. Ones that have been on the team: Dylan Guenther, Nathan Smith, Jack McBain. But then the newest Coyotes draft picks: Logan Cooley, Conor Geekie, Maveric, Lamoureux. So it's a great opportunity to get your eyes on some of these players on the ice in Coyotes jerseys for the first time.
And check out the flow in person.
Yeah, the Geekie.
A lot of them. There's a lot of flow.
Logan Cooley had some good flow too.
Yeah.
So did Nico Matika.
Look at you with all the names.
We can go down the list.
Jeremy Langlois.
Yes, Langlois has some serious
sick flow.
Amazing.
Yep. So I'm not sure they're going to be I'm not sure they're going to be big fans of that in the Arizona heat. We'll see how that goes.
Once it gets to be 112, she's a little steamy.
Yeah, a little
With that long hair,
toasty.
I
But
get you.
some other names too, besides all of this year's draft picks: Ben McCartney, John Farinacci, Josh Stone, of course, Liam Kirk. So just tons and tons of names. This is a really great opportunity. I believe it's also free to the public. It's kind of just, you gotta, not a ton of parking, so get there early. But
yeah,
it's a really
Guenther.
great chance. Yep.
Dylan Guenther's there, just not skating. And interestingly, Ilya Fedotov made it over before, in spite of all the issues. So that's an interesting prospect to watch. I'm going to try and touch base with him at some point. Not sure how much he's mastered the English language, and I definitely have not mastered the Russian language.
When you look at some of those names too, though, I mean, you're going all the way back to the 2018 draft. When you look at Emberson and Kirk, this covers the last 4 drafts. So there's a lot of kids spanning a lot of different age ranges. You've got kids that have been to the NCAA for years. I know at a couple of camps, you've got early 20s all the way down to 18-year-olds that are getting their first taste of it. So it's a pretty wide range. And I guess for people that want to go watch it, gives you a chance to compare all of those people against each other and see where they're at in their development.
And also get out of the heat into the nice, cool air inside the ice den. Ben Cross will be there too. He's also Arizona State's goalie, so some local aspects, and it'll be cool. Obviously, we talked about the storyline with Mikko Matiko playing on Denver this year, and they'll be playing against Arizona State. So he'll have his first opportunity to go up against Cross at this development camp as well. So what is development camp?
Yeah, I have one word for it. I'll let Petey talk because he was a part of the process. I would just say it's orientation.
Yeah, it's you don't want to overstate. We're going to talk about what I think about development camp.
Yeah,
I think it's great for these top draft picks to get to Arizona to prepare them for the main training camp in September. That's what this is about. It's more about them learning their way around, meeting the equipment staff and the medical staff, getting a tour of the facilities that they'll be going to training camp in, getting comfortable today so that in September, it's not a big, huge shock when they're there playing against NHL players trying to either make the team or develop for next year. It is not an evaluation camp. Yes. And you can't go, oh, look at this guy skating versus that guy. Well, some guys have been skating for 3 months. Some guys' season just ended. Some guys haven't touched the ice in months. Some guys are hurt. Some guys don't have any equipment and literally land here, and the equipment staff gives them everything new, including new skates. It's not fair to compare these guys. It is about meeting the coaches, meeting the development staff, getting comfortable on the ice with your peers, meeting a core group. And there are things in the Valley, like you've got to learn. Hey, the first meeting, the first day of every one of these camps is make sure you hydrate. Drink more water than you think you're going to drink. It's every meeting. I've heard the meeting. We used to recite the meeting underneath our breath that the GM, whether it was Don Maloney or John Chaika, was going to say, because you knew it. If you're hurt, make sure you tell the medical guys. Don't hide any injuries. We're on the same team here, so don't hurt any of your players on the same team. We want you to compete. The big thing here is you're going to learn a couple of things. You want to see how the kids compete on the ice, how smart they are at getting through drills that they've never done before, because these are all new drills with a new coaching staff. How responsive are they on the ice to learning new things? That's important. 2, it's how do they carry themselves everywhere? Never be late. Don't be late to anything. I don't mean don't be late to breakfast, to vans, to meetings. Don't be late. That's really important. And it's how you carry yourself among all of the other staff people. Is it please and thank you? Do you pick up your equipment or just throw it on the floor to let someone else pick it up? Those things, they get noticed. The on-ice stuff, there's a lot of leeway. There's not a lot of judging. It's just make sure they get through the drills and they work hard. It's not how well their skill is put together or how well they play together. And the scrimmage on Friday is going to be chaos. Guys haven't played together. We talked about different skill levels. Guys are in college. Guys are in junior. It's going to be a little glimpse of some individual skilled players. But again, it's not that important. It's more important to them to be, or like Craig said, it's an orientation to becoming a professional athlete and what's all entailed. They used to do in some of these things, they would have a chef come in and teach them how to cook. They would literally take a bus of all of these guys, take them to a grocery store, I'm not making this up. Take them to a grocery store and teaching them how to shop, look at labels, how to buy the right foods and how to prepare them. And then they take it and then they go cook it, because that's incredibly important. They'll do some team bonding things. They'll hike a mountain together, and they'll spend a lot of time in the gym learning how to work out, how to get bigger, stronger, and they'll get individually detailed programs for each of their needs. And they get a lot of one-on-one time with that entire staff that's in the gym. So when they leave here in a week, everybody's got a plan. Ice is important, but it's all about all of the other preparations to help you become a professional athlete.
I love that grocery store anecdote. I'd never heard that before in all my time covering the league. That's great content right there. So, Petey, I wanted to ask you one question before I just weigh in shortly here. When they talk about not being late, and by the way, it drives me crazy when people are late, like even 5 minutes late drives me crazy. Be early before you're late. Was that phrase still being uttered when Shane Doan came up through development camp?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think there was development camp when Shane Doan was at
that explains it.
And I will say this, when Shane's late, he's right on time, like right on time. Like just in that tiniest of windows that he would be on time. And by then he'd been a 15-year pro, so you get a little more leeway. But you're right. These guys, you'd be surprised. It's incredibly important to find out what kind of kids you have. And you know, Stan Wilson, the head equipment manager, has been here since the team moved from Winnipeg. And what Stan says matters. And if you don't treat him with respect and you don't treat him the right way, people find out. And I'm not saying he's a tattletale, but if you don't treat that core employee staff the right way, people will find out about it. And it's just as important for that part of this as it is the ice part. The ice part is so secondary. They have to go through it. They have to. And I've seen it. I've been with coaching staffs that have done 2-a-days or 3-a-days for that. Like they made the ice the most important thing. That's really shifted. It's really going to be light lifting. It's going to be a lot of flow drills because they don't want guys getting hurt. It's not, you can't have a guy getting a major injury pulling a groin right now. So it's not that important. It's just to get to know everybody on the ice, what they need to work on, what their skill set is, what things that I can do as a development coach to help improve you. So when you get here in September, you're ready to roll.
Yeah, I want to preempt readers, listeners with a question that I don't want to get. It's not going to work because they're still going to ask us, what did you think of so-and-so? I thought he was really impressive. And look, you can see particular skill sets in development camp. You can see what a guy's strengths are, but don't ask me at this point what I thought of a player, seriously, because my answers are going to be like, he's a nice guy. Well, I thought he had nice hair, or wow, he's really big. And that's about as deep as you're going to get from me on the evaluation right now, because as Petey said, you don't do evaluations now. There's so many variables to consider. That's not what this is about. There's a time for that. There will come a time for that. But that time is not now.
I will say this, though, Craig. Having said that, I've also been in the stands with coaches, scouts, and managers going, hey, look at that guy. Especially the guys that they were scouting and the guys that they were helping draft. There's just that element you can't really help yourself. Oh, boy, was that guy good today. Oh, did you see how skilled he was, especially in the scrimmage on Friday? Oh, boy. Some of that, you can't help yourself, but do some of that. And this is a situation, you're not going to make the team in this week. You can push yourself out of a spot.
That's true.
And it's not, again, it's not on the ice. It's the stuff you do away from it can really put you behind the 8 ball if you don't work hard.
That was going to be my question. Obviously, you just alluded the on-ice stuff isn't really what matters. The off-ice stuff does. Is there any way to maybe even set yourself up for more success or be more favored, when it comes to real training camp? And like you just mentioned, can you elaborate more? You can actually, if you're doing all the wrong things off the ice, put yourself in a bad situation.
100%. And you can see guys, especially there'll be a couple guys here because you need to fill 2 rosters. So not every one of these players is either a Coyote prospect or a Coyote draft pick. There are going to be some free agents coming here just to get a look. There are guys that this is their one chance. They have 1 week to stand out in whatever way that is. So it's important you do the off ice stuff, but on ice, again, it's not so much about the skill and how dynamic or how many goals you score in the scrimmage. It's about how hard you work. And I'll tell you this, it's happened in development camps where players that are on a tryout just for development camp that will get invited to the next camp based on how hard or what an effort they can put in over these 5 days. It does happen. Now, as somebody from this group going to make the team? Well, yeah, I think we've got Nathan Smith, who's probably not going to play much. I think he's injured. McBain is probably a guy that you're going to have to look at is going to be on that borderline to make the team. So there are some players here that if they don't play this year, there are a lot of players that are going to play for the Coyotes off of this group today. It just might not be this season. So again, go there, work hard, learn, ask questions. And I tell you what, that was another thing. Ask. If you ask about hockey to the coaches, ask about medical stuff to the medical guys, ask about training to the training guys. This is the best forum to learn before you get there in September, because when you get in September for main training camp, there is no time. Your schedule is completely regimented and it is no time. You don't have time to go, hey, what about this? Or where's that? No, you got to go. So this is the time to get ready for September. That's what this is important. And yes, if you go to the scrimmage on Friday, you're going to go, oh boy, that, like Logan Cooley, did you see that skill? That was a great pass. And I can't help myself. We did it. Great pass. Oh boy, did you see that Barrett Hayton? What a pass. Like honestly, who cares? It matters 3 months from now in September. That's when it matters. Yeah. It's exciting. This is great. They put the Coyote jersey on for the first time. They get to hang out with each other. They get to meet guys that will be their friends for another decade that they're going to be friends and teammates with. This is a really important and interesting time for all these guys. And you know what? It's a debrief for the scouts. They'll all be there. And this is kind of the fruits of their labor, and they can just kind of enjoy it and take it in. So it's a really fun time. It's a really hard time for the staff because you got a lot of players that you're juggling, trying to get through all of these different things in a matter of 5 days. So there's a lot to cover, but it is a really exciting time for these players. It's fun to just go watch the wide eyes and just go, wow, this is so cool. So this is a lot of fun this week.
And are they also going to be doing like team activities off the ice as well, like team bonding?
Yep, they'll do. There usually is. I don't know this schedule particularly this year, but there usually is team bonding events. They'll do team dinners where they'll go somewhere, and then they'll make that a program a part of that. Like I said, they've climbed the mountain. They pick a different mountain in the valley and they climb one of those. But again, that's weather dependent. At 112, you don't want 40 kids from around the world passing out on a mountain. So that one's weather dependent. But
send them up to Camp Tazazona. They can climb Mount Cush.
Yeah, and it's funny, the movement. Like I remember one time, this is hard, and that's one of the things that happens when you're doing this when it's 112, 115. I remember one development camp we did in Peoria at the Peoria Ice Center, just off the 101, and it was 112, and because of the movement, let's see, how did I just, all the buses roll back. So people were in and out of those big garage doors. They had ice problems and the ice went right down to the dirt, and you're trying to run development camp and you have holes in the ice where you have to either put tires or cones. And it's just unfortunately part of the problem of doing this when it's 112. They're not going to run into those issues at the Ice Den Scottsdale. I mean, I'm talking about something that was 12 years ago. So they're not going to have those kind of issues at the Ice Den Scottsdale. But again, it's just trying to do these kind of events when it's 112, and you will have kids having issues with hydration and the heat. It's going to happen. You have kids getting, when I say sick, I mean, there'll be guys throwing up on the ice because they're just not used to this heat, this climate, it's hard to drink enough water. And I think you're going to see some kids learning. And again, it's a learning process so that this doesn't happen in September, so that they go, oh, when they said drink water, they're not kidding, drink water. So I think if you didn't have this, September would be much more difficult and much more scary for these kids. Can you imagine? At least they're doing it all together with a bunch of 18 to 20-year-olds. Can you imagine going to your first day and you're sitting next to Clayton Keller in the breakfast room, and that's your first experience here with NHL athletes going, oh my God, I'm over my head, or what am I supposed to do, or what's going on? I mean, so I think that's just as important. So they get some comfortability with, okay, now I don't have to worry about that. I will worry about Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz, but I don't have to worry about, hey, where do I eat my meals, or where am I going to sleep? Where's the hotel at? How do I get to the ice sheet from the locker room? Like all of those little details. My skate lace broke. Who do I see? All of those things will be covered this week. So it's incredibly important, but it's not incredibly important on the hockey side. Don't overstate the hockey side. This guy's going to make the team in July, because he's not. Nope. They're just not.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think from the fan perspective, at least, coaches aren't evaluating on ice performance, but it is fun for the fans to see these players play for the first time. Obviously, the scouts have traveled around the world to see them play, and especially for not all 10 will be there, but for the 10 picks in this year's draft, it's the first opportunity for fans to get to see them on the ice. So there is some fun in that, at least from the fan perspective. And I don't think there's going to be odds for the black and white game on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. I'll have to evaluate the rosters and I'll give my pick later in the week. I'm just kidding. But there's plenty else you can bet on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. So be sure to check it out. You can bet on NHL team futures. You can bet on World Junior team futures. Some of the Coyotes prospects are part of those World Junior camps. So you might see some Coyotes prospects on World Junior teams. So really exciting stuff coming up. Even though it's the off season, even though it's the summer, there's still tons you can do on the DraftKings Sportsbook app, not just for hockey, but of course, everything else. There's so much stuff to bet on. So be sure to check it out. And when you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, use the promo code PHNX and make your first deposit and get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's promo code PHNX only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. It's actually a big week in the NHL. There's a lot of important dates coming up. So let's just quickly go over them. We're going to dive more into free agency over the next few days here as it kicks off on Wednesday, but a couple other dates that people should note. Today at 5 Eastern, so 2 Arizona time, that took me a second, qualifying offers are due to restricted free agents. And Craig, who are the Coyotes RFAs?
Yeah, well, we already know that Cole Holtz is not going to be tendered an offer. Tucson defenseman. I don't think Kyle Capobianco is going to get one either. So those guys will be most likely moving on. There's always a chance still that you can negotiate at a lower expected contract, but with guys like that, I think they'll probably be moving on. Josef Kozhinash, even though he signed a 2-year deal in the Czech Republic, the Coyotes wanted to maintain his rights, so they're going to qualify him and of course the other guys that are the key guys on the list that you would expect all along. Lawson Krause, Barrett Hayton, Christian Fischer, Cam Dineen. Those are all guys that the Coyotes want to be a part of their future. So those, like you said, 2.5 hours from now, actually, those lists will be out officially. But yeah, I would obviously be surprised if any of those 4 names that I just mentioned were not on the list. Of course, contract negotiations continue for Lawson Krause. Bill Armstrong has said that's just a process. He loves him. He's pretty much Bill Armstrong's prototypical player, right? So Lawson Krause, I think they would like to be a part of this franchise's future, and Barrett Hayton as well. Christian Fischer, they love his energy. So we'll just have to wait until those become official.
Yes, and by the way, congrats to Lawson Krause on his engagement this week in Paris. So that's awesome to see, but really exciting. Could be a big summer for Lawson Krause.
Really, really good.
Yep. And then tomorrow on July 12th, RFAs can be contacted for offer sheet discussion. We'll see if we get any offer sheets around the NHL this year. Those are always fascinating.
Rare. They're very rare.
Yes, but we've seen them in the last couple of years. Also tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern, the first buyout window closes. And then at midnight tomorrow night, or 11:59, UFAs lose their ability to re-sign for 8 years. So if they don't choose to re-sign, they can no longer then sign for the max. We'll get into more free agency stuff, like I said, later in the week. And then, of course, Wednesday, July 13th at noon Eastern, 9 Arizona time, it's the UFA and RFA signing period that opens. So big week ahead, lots of important things to keep your eye on. I don't want to get into it because we're going to preview it. We're going to talk about NHL free agency. We're going to see what the Coyotes do, but there's some really interesting free agents this year.
Yeah, just the Coyotes aren't going to be in on them.
Nope.
That's just
but it's interesting though. We said that if you look at the draft and the first round specifically, the most active team throughout those 1 through 32 picks by far was the Arizona Coyotes. Not only did they have the 3 picks, they had 2 trades, they were moving, they were acquiring, incredibly exciting. Free agency, they're not driving the bus. They might be a passenger on the bus and they might get a few things coming their way, but it's not them that's driving that conversation. Like Cassian, like you pick up a player like Cassian to get assets. Do I think they still need to fill out their roster? Yeah, I do. Like they're still going to have to acquire players. Now, does that mean they're going to get UFAs? I think they probably will have to get, you have 20 guys on the ice, 23-man roster. You're probably going to get a UFA or two, but it's not going to be the guys that you're reading on the ticker at TSN going, hey, it's the top 10 guys. It's not
Evander
them.
Kane. Yeah, he's not coming here.
Yeah.
One day, maybe one day.
The other thing I would say, if you look at Bill Armstrong's recent history, I mean, that's all he has with the Coyotes, of course. They still want to take on some more of those contracts, those Zach Kassian type contracts, but he'll play the waiting game. He'll be patient. You get closer to camp, teams get a little more desperate to move those sorts of things so he can add assets that way. I think in many ways, we'll see what happens with their RFAs and then maybe a guy like Anton Strawman if he ends up signing a contract to come back. But as you get deeper and deeper into the free agent process and guys start looking for a home, they get a little more desperate and, the ask comes down. So the Coyotes might not have to spend as much as they had to on, again, free agents who already aren't being hotly pursued, but now are just really looking for a job. So he's been very patient in the past. I don't see any reason why he would change that approach because it's been effective for him.
Yep.
Yeah. Did you see the comment, Craig?
Yeah. Phil Kessel ain't coming back here.
Yeah. I'll take a hard no. But the other thing you talked about too is another Zach Kassian type contract move where you're looking at a team that's looking at some of these free agents that are going to cost them a little more, and they need to free up some cap space that they currently retain, and they need to move a player. Well, there's a team that has a lot of cap space and is willing to take that on for the right price, and that's the Arizona Coyotes. Would I be surprised to see that happen on free agent day? No. They're one of the few teams, and look out for Chicago. Their tank is on full speed ahead.
They're coming for the Coyotes.
They're coming hard for Connor Bedard.
Yeah, that is a central collision course for sure. And so there's two teams now that are alleviating cap space that have some room. I don't think Chicago's going to take on any bad contracts, but they do need the picks. So Arizona, I think it's a perfect mix. Be patient, wait, because Bill Armstrong has shown he can do that. He's done it in the past to get the right deals, to get the right players. He's built this team by taking bad contracts and getting draft picks in. And not just, you look at the contracts he brought in, they were guys that played and contributed. And you talked about Anton Strawman, Gostisbehere, Beagle, like Erickson, all these guys. It was great. He did it the right way, built through 20 experienced players on the ice, mostly experienced NHL players on the ice, got assets, and now he's starting to build from there. I would think that is much more likely to see them acquire another one or two bad contracts over the next week than it would be for them to make a splash in the UFA market.
Yeah, Bill Armstrong hasn't hidden from that. I mean, he said that outright, that's what he wants to do. And there will be more opportunities as the summer passes along. Or like you said, Petey, if someone really needs to move some money to bring in a free agent, okay, Bill Armstrong, let's talk. And what's it going to cost me? So, yeah, those are the things to watch. One word on Chicago, by the way. I mean, wow. Alex DeBrincat's gone. Dylan Strome won't be qualified. Dominique Kubalik is going to be gone.
Kirby Dach
is gone. And listen, at the trade deadline, if not sooner, Patrick Kane is probably going to be gone. I wonder if Chicago will retain some salary, if somebody might be able to or willing to take a flyer on Jonathan Toews for the remainder of his contract, that short term of contract, because still, here's a guy with just oodles of playoff experience, was just such a great performer them in their heyday. You could move him down the lineup, like make Jonathan Toews your third line center for a cup contender. But Chicago is coming hard for Connor Bedard. And I got to say, even as a guy who grew up in Chicago, if conspiracy theorists want to fire things up here, man, if Chicago gets the top overall pick, if they get Connor Bedard with this 1 year of tanking, we're just going to drop this year like Montreal did and get the top overall pick. And not to mention all the ugly baggage associated with the Blackhawks right now. Man, that would be a tough look for the league, for Chicago to just jump in. Here we are. We got bad for a year, and we get Connor Bedard.
Come on, Gary. Gary loves the
Can't let it happen, Gary. Can't let it happen, buddy. Or Bill Daly. Can't let it happen.
Craig, does Dylan Strome become an Arizona Coyote?
No.
I've seen it on Twitter. I've seen it in the chat. I've seen it in the Discord. Yeah, no.
No.
How does Dylan Strome fit Bill Armstrong's profile, other than that he's relatively tall?
Yeah, he's tall.
How does he fit Bill Armstrong's
profile? I just this isn't the right time and the right place for Dylan Strome. It just isn't. So I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah. No.
We need the new hashtag for it was wrong for right, which is hilarious. That
You don't like mine?
the falling
Coming
hard
hard,
for
coming hard for Connor Bedard.
yeah. Oh, there's
Look at
Wiley
that.
Coyote.
His show just got a lot better.
Wiley.
What's
I'm
up, Wiley?
babysitting now. I'm babysitting Wiley right now because usually Wiley's mom is here taking care of Wiley and keeping
Petey?
him away from the show.
Petey, it's your dog, Petey. You don't
I know.
babysit your own dog.
You don't?
No, buddy.
Oh, that's what I'm doing because he is not having it. When she leaves, he just has nothing to do with me.
Aw.
Hey,
All
Wiley.
he does is look for her. That's
Hi,
all
Wiley.
he's doing.
Look
Where
at
is
that.
Wiley? He's a good
He's
travel
so
companion,
cute.
aren't you, Wiley? Okay, so that was
Aw.
the awe moment of the show.
Well,
Sorry, buddy.
Petey,
Best part of the show.
since you drove, did you pack a cooler of Four Peaks with you?
I didn't, but I will say this. We can talk about Four Peaks, and I know that's where we're going. I get it. You guys missed out on that whole thing.
I know, I'm sad.
We got to do. You missed. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a 4-hour show, so clearly
you
didn't
take
go watch the whole
shots?
thing. Well, they gave us the beer testers for Christmas in July. It's Christmas in July right now at Four Peaks, so they've brewed 2 beers especially for Christmas in July. So we get these little tasters of beer, and oh my goodness, like why aren't we doing all our shows from there?
They did,
great.
by the way, Craig, and you're missing this, pumpkin porters on tap on Wednesday.
Oh, I'm coming
Just
home,
one
baby.
day only.
I'm coming home Friday.
One
What?
day only.
One day? Can
So
somebody get me a growler? Somebody hook me up with a growler. A pumpkin
they were
porter.
great. The chicken fingers, as we talked, chicken tendies, elite. It was a great experience. They were so helpful there. It was fantastic. Beer was great. Event was great. Location was great. Everything at Four Peaks was phenomenal.
That's cool. And thank you for doing that, Petey, because that was a marathon. That was
somebody said
running a
3 hours.
telethon, buddy.
I did say somebody said 3 hours, and oh yeah, you can get up and you can go eat. No, you can't. No, you don't. You sit there and you have
Didn't Sean not get up once?
He didn't get up once. And we had those flashbacks, the first round flashbacks. Oh yeah, we'll play those. Those are a minute. Like, what can you do in a minute? So, oh yeah, I'll eat during the show. No, I sure didn't. And that was a problem. And I tell you, we got to see a lot of people
during the show.
I did drink during the show. I did do that, and there were a lot of great PHNX members there. It was really cool. It was a good experience, and I will say, Sean, unbelievable amount of heavy lifting that he had to do during that show. Emma and Shane behind the scenes, phenomenal how much stuff they had to juggle. It was just easy to turn on the mic and talk. So it was a great experience. Glad we did it. It is really long though, man. That was long.
On a related note, Petey, I got a little bit of flack from Leah and Jacob about the Sheehan show at Centre
Shane
Bell.
show? They were underwhelmed?
I don't think they were blown away by them. So,
but it's not that we didn't say it's the best food you're going to eat in Montreal. It's legendary. It's part
like,
of the lore of
No,
Centre
and
Bell.
I get it. It's like how I'm obsessed with Tim Hortons, but like Tim Hortons isn't elite cuisine. It's just
unlike Four Peaks chicken strips, which I think I sold all of you on after you tried.
No, that was not undersold.
They're
that was
incredible.
not undersold.
But no, Shane's show, and truthfully, the Shane show is about the bread. It's about the bun. It's buttered on both sides. It's toasted.
Go ahead, Leah.
The meat on the inside is nothing.
So
it's cheap.
So night 1, they had the bread. Day 2, they must have run out because, by the way, it was like 50 people in the line every time you wanted to get one. So day 2, it was not the legendary bun. It was a bun that was way too long for the hot dog. Wow. It was not the same. And I did see the first night because I was like, oh, this is unique. It's a little bit different than what a normal hot dog bun was. But day 2, no.
No, it's like a grilled piece of grilled cheese wrapped around, but the bread is what makes it. So I'm sorry that you did not get the good experience.
I did have it on the first night, but I was so busy that I was eating so that I wouldn't pass out. Like I wasn't really enjoying it, taking the time to enjoy it.
So Petey, you heard about all the Air Canada trials that we had, and they've canceled like something like 10,000 flights over the next 2 months because they don't have any staff, but they still have their flights scheduled for some bizarre reason. Beyond that, though, and beyond the rail strike, which we just heard about with Lee, apparently there's a.
Oh yeah, so
go ahead.
Our friend that we made on the plane there, Effin Birds on Twitter, if you know of him, he was on our show last week. Yep. He's from Toronto, so he booked a train from Montreal to Toronto to get home, and it was announced that there would be a rail strike. So once again, curse.
Canada was crumbling while we were there. Not only that, Rogers, I don't know if it was a cyber attack. We had no Wi-Fi at the arena. the Wi-Fi just kept going out at the arena at Central Bell during the NHL draft. A really good time to lose your Wi-Fi. So I don't know what was going on with Rogers, but the entire infrastructure of Canada was crumbling while we were there. So I just have, I have a mild suggestion for the National Hockey League. We know that I like to advise Gary Bettman on this show from time to time. He never takes my advice, but I do it anyway. Let's just stick with the U.S. for a little while, okay? Let's stick with the U.S. for drafts and award shows and whatever else you've got going on. Let's stick with the U.S. for a little while until Canada gets it all sorted out.
Can we just do it in the middle of the country too? Can we just put it like right up the corner,
Amen, buddy.
like maybe Minneapolis, Chicago, St. Louis, just in the middle of the country? Everybody can kind of get, if you have to drive, you can drive. Or I hate to say it because you guys had such a good time, you could do it virtually again.
No,
isn't that just easier?
No,
it's
not as fun. By the way, Caleb, I'm not putting your comment disparaging Tim Hortons on the screen. I see it, but I'm not putting it on the screen.
Wow. You know what else I've had up here, Leah? I've had real maple syrup in New England.
Craig has been sending me photos of maple syrup.
Today for lunch, guys. I got to get the name of this place right because it's a good name. It's good branding. They don't have a social media presence, which I think is a mistake because they could take advantage of opportunities like this. But I went to Bailey's Lobster Pound today, where they have both soft shell and hard shell lobsters. And I had a lobster roll and oh my God, fresh lobster right out of the water, which I can see from my buddy's house. So.
Yeah, you get lobster, we get corn. Brian Brown, I like Bemidji, Minnesota for the draft. I'm in right by Paul and Babe.
We could stay at the Peters family house.
Hell yeah, come on in. It's a lot easier to get to than Montreal. By the way, did you see the Waka Waka's comment before, Leah, and who I sound? And do you know who that is? Do you know John C. McGinley? No. Office Space. Do you see the movie Office Space?
Craig was dying all weekend, by the way, of me not knowing a ton of stuff.
we had a music playlist everywhere we were, airport, wherever we were. We had a playlist from yours and my era, Petey.
It was amazing music.
I look up, and this is big music. We're talking about major artists. I looked up just blank stares.
But I knew the songs. I just didn't know the artists.
Just didn't know who sang them. Didn't know Al Green or Marvin Gaye or
I know who they are.
Okay. It was.
Well, I'm glad, Leah. I really am glad you made it back. I'm really glad you made it safe. I'm glad you guys went and had the life experience. I know the travel. I said this before on the show. Craig might have missed it. I know that travel day was one of the worst days ever. I know it was miserable. But 5 years from now, that's all you're going to talk about. Is what a horrible day. I'd get in there, all the people we met, all the things we had to do this. It's going to become a great story the longer it goes on.
It still is. It's already a great story, and also the fact that what we have in common with Logan Cooley is that we both had trouble getting to the draft by air.
And he had to drive. Yeah,
he had to drive.
Exactly.
10-hour drive in a van, but he slept the whole way.
He said. Anyway, this is going to be so non-connected now because we just went down a long road.
Rabbit hole.
But if you're going to enjoy Four Peaks, I probably will today, later at the end of this day, because it was just a stressful week. 21 and over, enjoy responsibly. Craig, your neutral zone is published today, kind of tying up all the loose ends from the draft. Some great stuff there. What else is on the docket at gophnx.com?
Free agency preview and really just tracking free agencies to see what the Coyotes do, even if it's just the RFAs or maybe bringing back one of their guys. That's what I'll be dialed in on this week, and then we'll just have to watch. This may be like Petey alluded to. This may be a slow trickle for the Coyotes in terms of free agency because they're going to play the waiting game with some of these guys, I'm sure.
Yep. Well, become a member at gophnx.com. If you missed all of Craig's stories, tons of stories. I think there was something every single day last week. So
sometimes more than one.
Sometimes more than one. So become a member at gophnx.com. Sign up for an annual membership. Get a shirt from the locker. Petey's wearing his PHNX hat right now, so you can get that from the PHNX locker. Try your first month, just 50 cents if you want to do month to month. And join our members only Discord. Join the family. It's the off season, but still 5 days a week of Coyotes content. So stay tuned. I'm heading to development camp tomorrow. So if anyone is there, come over and say hello, wear your PHNX gear, and we'll have some video from development camp coming soon. Any final notes before we head out?
I'll be doing the next show from Minnesota.
Yeah, Petey's on the move. I'm going to stay put. I'm going to stay put here in Portland for a little while.
Yeah,
Enjoy I talked to Stanley. I told Stan to look you up tomorrow and make sure he says hi. So,
Okay.
well, I'll make some other calls. I can make sure everybody takes care of you and make sure you get everything you need tomorrow to that dev camp.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Please like and subscribe and leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. Follow PHNX Coyotes on Twitter at PHNX_Coyotes and follow PHNX Sports across all social platforms, including subscribing on YouTube so you never miss a show. We'll have an audio episode tomorrow previewing free agency. We'll have a live show on Wednesday reacting to free agency. And then hopefully on Thursday, we'll have some Coyotes moves to talk about. So more to come. Our show schedule is posted on our Twitter. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Monday, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow.